Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Gamer Social Club news podcast. I'm your stand-in host for this week. I'm Mark, aka We Awoke host. Harry is on a stunning holiday in Morocco, probably wearing a little fez, so can't be with us today. And our other regular guest on the podcast, Addy, he's away on the Assassin's Creed Odyssey tour of Greece, so can't be with us either. However, you're very lucky to be joined by no empathy, only daggers, Lady B. B, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yep, it's gonna be a strange one this week without two of the regulars, but I'm sure we can make it work. They're probably just holding us back anyway, right?
I'm sure we'll find out in the comments after the podcast and the comments we get in the Discord from the boys as well. But yeah, everyone's got to get a holiday, and it's good that them guys are away this week. So you're left with me and V, and we've got lots to talk about. It's been a really busy week of news in gaming. We're going to be touching on the reveal today of Battlefield 6. We're going to be talking about the Pokémon Presents from earlier this week and the extra news that Nintendo decided to drop 48 hours after the Pokemon Presents. And we've got lots of other things to get into as well today. So it's going to be a really busy show. And thank you very much for being here. If you're a regular, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, let me tell you a little bit about Gamer Social Club. So we are a startup gaming website. We are completely volunteer driven, and we are all very passionate gamers. We love games. We love talking about them. We love writing about them. And we're really proud of what we're doing on the Gamer Social Club website. So please do come and see us. We play a lot of games for review. We've got some to talk about today. And for all of our reviews, we make sure that they're played all the way through to completion. So you make sure whenever you're reading one of our reviews, you know that you're getting the full picture of every game that we play. So we make sure that we roll credits on everything that we play here at Gamer Social Club. And the third pillar, and I think is the one I'm most proud of for the website, is that we are a no rumor news website as well. So everything that you read on the site is completely factual based. None of the insider scoops that you read on Twitter, none of that nonsense. Is completely legitimate news that you read through GSC. So we make sure that you get the real news about your favorite games. So we're on all social media platforms, but we'll come back to that at the end of the show for the back end of the what Harry loves to call the rigmarole for the as we depart the end of the show later today. So we always kick off our weekly news podcast with actually no news. We talk about what we've been playing, and I'm lucky to have lots of time to game the last week, but I think it's probably worth us coming straight to UV because you've been playing a really big game that's had lots of review, a bit of a mixed bag review across the internet. A bit controversial in a few spaces, but we won't get into that. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your big review this week and other things you've been playing?
Yeah, so I have been playing Wuchang Fallen Feathers for review this week and for the previous couple of weeks, actually, because it's quite a big game. I think I put about 50 hours into it to get to completion. So obviously, it's a new Souls-like. I know some people are getting a little bit fatigued with the genre, but as a fan of the genre, I'm pretty happy for them to keep making lots of Souls-like as long as they're good Souls-likes. But yeah, there has been a bit of mixed bag in reviews. Um, as you said, some of which are for slightly more controversial reasons, which I think Candy and I are going to cover on the Girl Pod that releases next Monday. So we will not talk about the character design at all on the news podcast today. But I think the rest of the mixed reviews has been there's been some optimization issues of the game on PC, which now seems to be pretty standard on games that are built in Unreal Engine 5. So I didn't have any issues when I was playing it at all. I had one crash, but it was because I assume it was because I was running OBS in the background, and because I have a terrible, terrible habit of never closing a program on my PC until once I've opened it. I have it at work as well. I'll try and load something, and the whole PC, my whole laptop just goes, "What are you doing? You have 7 different Power BI dashboards open at once. Like, could you please just close one thing? But yeah, apart from that, I didn't experience any stuttering or anything. I have to say I do run quite a powerful gaming rig, so and I think a lot of the mixed reviews on Steam um, are towards the lower end of the spec, and I think that's just one of the issues that is kind of inherent in PC gaming at the moment is the fact that you have recommended specs, but some of these graphics cards and things and on the specifications that people are running are maybe 9 or 10 years old, and they do call it PC Master Race for a reason. Like people get very, very heated about how much frames and things they can get out of their PCs. If you are running an older rig, then potentially you are going to see some frame drops and stuttering and things. This is obviously not an excuse for bad optimization, and it does seem like the game is a little bit poorly optimized. But yeah, we you can also be running really, really, really good hardware and you get people who are like, it's running at mostly stable 120 FPS, but occasionally it dropped down to 115, and that's just not acceptable behavior. So there is a little bit of that to it. But yeah, from looking at some of the stuff that one of our writers, Russell, who's much more into his PC specs and his PC gaming, has said there are stuttering issues, and they're sort of inherent to the Unreal Engine 5 launches that we've seen over the past few years. There's also seems to be, and it was covered in one of our articles, which we'll link below, about the developers addressing some of the issues. There also seems to be some pricing disparities that was unintentional. So I know from looking at the Souls-like subreddit, um, a lot of the top negative reviews actually come from the Chinese market as a Chinese-made game, and it appears that China did not get the standard 10% discount on release that all Steam games get, or most Steam games get. So the most upvoted negative review on Steam is from a Chinese player saying all markets get a discount apart from China. So I think there's a few things going on. I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed myself. So the mixed reviews were a bit of a shock to me, especially some of them. Again, going into the characters design that we're not going to discuss, it seems I for me a 4 out of 10 game is a broken game, and there are some reviews that are like this a 4 out of 10 because we don't like the design choices, and I'm a bit like I understand reviews are subjective and scores are subjective, but at a certain point you're just I don't know being a little bit unfair. You'd be better to potentially not score it and just do an editorial about what you think is that issue. Um,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
um, yeah, it's really fun. It's a really fun game. They've done some really new things to the formula. Maybe a few too many new things in some instances. There's a lot there's a lot of mechanisms on the go, and at a certain point, I was just like, I've not even used this. Like I forgot this was here. Like um, the it doesn't you don't use dodge rolling. It's like a dodge mechanic called shimmering, and it's like a really fun effect if you get so you sort of sidestep attacks. So if you get a perfect dodge, you generate power that you can then use to power up your special attacks, or you can use it to power up your magic, which was really really fun. And the animations and stuff that they've put in place for it look gorgeous. Like it's a really nice visual feedback. So if you don't get the perfect dodge timing right, you're never going to think that you've done it. And even just building up your like skyborn might. Sorry, it's like you get one perfect dodge, and it's like a sort of pale, um, very pale sort of pinky blue color, and then as you do successive ones, then the color gets more and more vibrant, so you know that you have a certain amount of your charges to do a spell and stuff like that really easily from the visual cues, which I think is a really well implemented system. um, the only other thing that I had a bit of a niggle with is some of the bosses are what I would consider overtuned. um, there is a particular boss towards the end of the sort of first area. I won't go into sort of any spoilers, but it's a humanoid boss. And I think whoever designed her really, really liked Millennia from Elden Ring. Like,
Oh,
and I like
oh,
Millennia from Elden Ring is not a bad fight by any means. Um, like she is in fact a very, very good fight and very satisfying once you learn her attack patterns. But I think it's very telling that she's a optional end game content, whereas
yeah.
this is a mandatory progression boss. Um, and it was like smacking my head against the wall. Which happens a lot in Souls likes, and that's very fun and satisfying once you eventually break your nose and break through the wall. But towards once I finally got past that fight, I didn't necessarily get that same surge of satisfaction. Um, I could see myself getting better and better at it the more I did it, but just scouring the whole area, looking for materials to upgrade the weapon and stuff like that to do a little bit more damage, because that gate keeps the next area at a certain point you're just sort of like hard stuck for how much more you can upgrade. So you can't get your
Mm.
weapon to like a slightly higher level to do a little bit more damage unless you want to just run around and grind. You're not getting any more levels to upgrade stats. So you just have to, as fans of the genre would say, get good. Um, but I think that in a lot of more modern Souls likes, there's generally like more options to try and you know buff yourself so you don't necessarily get hard stuck. Um, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna fully compare it to the pre-nerf Consort Radahn from the end of the Elden Ring DLC, but that was potentially the last time that I was fighting a boss in a Souls game and was like, "Oh, this has become unfun for me." like, and then they released the balance patch, and they were like, "Oh, actually, it's probably not a good idea for people to go blind when they're playing." And I was like, "Yeah, that seems fun. That seems fair, actually. Like, I think you've done the right thing here." So, will be interesting to see if there's some balance patches for certain things going forwards. Um, Obviously, it's not the most accessible genre in the world, but at a certain extent, it can't just be built for people that only play Souls like, and it can't just be built for like Souls like streamers who will put however many hours into it to hitless everything and do it perfectly. You do want people to get past the first act of your game to get into the meat of it and things like that. But yeah, that was most of the other bosses were fine. There was a few here and there that were again a little bit overtuned, or just there was some jank to um the animations. Like telegraphing is a big thing. Like you have to be able to see what the boss is doing. Um, and there was a few where the telegraphing wasn't the best. But none of them like three shot me, so that was not really that much of an issue. Um, and yeah, I think just for the rest of them, they're potentially when you're doing a bit of tuning. And I think that a lot of people said this about some of the bosses in Elden Ring. It is good if the bosses themselves have what seems to be a stamina bar, even though obviously you can't see it, because there was one or two in Wuchang where I was just like, okay, so you can just keep going forever. Whereas I can't. I can't just spam attacks. I can't just R1 spam my way through the fight. But it's just like, oh, there's a gap I can get some hits in. And it's just like, oh no, actually they've got full stamina still. And I'm like, okay, fine, that's fine. I'll just wait over here. You do your thing. uh but yeah, it was a fun game. I really enjoyed it. I think if you're a fan of Souls like, you will enjoy it. It's day one on Game Pass. I've not seen. I think Russell said that there had been some issues on PS5, but I've not seen any reports of there being a lot of issues on Xbox in terms of performance. Just switch off motion blur. You'll probably be all right. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it an 8, which I think is good praise for a good game. If you're into the genre, it'll tick all your boxes, certainly.
Awesome, awesome. It's totally advisory. I've been having a Souls like itch that I've been meaning to scratch for a while, and I know I mentioned to you that I've picked Liza P back up once I'm finally done with Expedition 33, which I'll talk about in a moment. I think Liza P might be my next game, and perhaps feeling a bit intimidated by some of the things you've said about some of the early game bosses, because I'm by no means Souls pro at all. Definitely
Mm.
not one of these streamer bros that will be trying to no hit runs. And definitely, I would say I had a tougher time with Melania than what you just said you had. So I might be
Oh
waiting
no,
for
no,
a
I did
little bit
have a
of an
lot.
easier ride.
I had a lot of trouble with Millennia. Please don't think that boss did not take me at least 4 hours to complete. Like, like, mm.
Well, one thing I'm always kind of keen to know with these kind of games is what's the world like? 'Cause I understand it's Chinese made, kind of Chinese. Is it mythology or kind of Chinese themes to it? Is that kind of what the world's all about, and kind of how does it compare to some of the other games in the genre?
Yeah, so it's set in a sort of fictionalized, very ancient Ming dynasty. So you're in a world called Shu, and it is very much like steeped in Chinese mythology and folklore and things like that. So they've done a fantastic job with the world building. To be honest, there's a lot of there's a lot of different environments, biomes, and stuff like that, and the game does look stunning. And obviously, they have weaved in a lot of sort of ancient Chinese folklore and things like that into the overall plot of the game, which is there is a disease called the feathering that turns people into bird demons. So you and they go mad and they start attacking people and things like that. So yeah, the lore of it's really fun. We were there's no spoiler reviews there's no spoilers for the story. There's not story mentioned at all actually, in the review, because as a lot of games we get for review, you will get a review guide with it, and we were requested to not do any spoilers, as you would expect, because the game's just come out, and I just thought it was easier to just gloss over sort of any of the plot points instead of going into it. But yeah, it is a really engaging world. There are some bits like all Souls likes, I think, that you're just a bit like, I have no idea who this person is and why they're doing what they're doing here. Like, where did you come from? What is going on? Uh, but yeah, they have done a really good idea to make it's not like a Dark Souls or even an Elden Ring where you're plucking through the remains of like a world where all the significant events happened millennia ago. It's like very much
Yeah.
you are in a lot more like Lies of P. Like you are in the thick of just the direct aftermath or like directly what is happening to the world, and you are an active participant in trying to fix it. Um, so yeah, and like some of the creatures, some of the enemies and the bosses and stuff are horrific. So, which is definitely what you want from a Souls like. But yeah, you'll find yourself in the depths of like hidden temples. There's like even fun little characters in it. There's well, instead of having Titanite demons or scarabs and stuff like from Souls, there's these little things that pop out of the ground. They're little sentient sentient bamboo shoots. They're called bamboozlings. And if you catch them and hit them, then you get a bamboo shoot, and you can trade that in with like this fully dressed sort of like panda NPC for different items and stuff like that, which is quite fun. Just a bit wild, just out of the way. Everyone's dying over here, and then just in a cave somewhere, there's just like a little panda who's having a great time. Um, but yeah, no, the world building is really really fun. You can see that they have a lot of passion for the story, and they really thought about how they were going to make these enemy designs fit in with the wider things. There's some just people that have started to go a little bit mad, but as you go into it more, there's just more and more just horrors based on this plague. And I think a lot of the designs and stuff do come directly out of like sort of demons from Chinese folklore. So yeah, it's world building, world design is very good. Would recommend that.
Awesome, awesome. I think for me, being a Dark Souls 2 guy, much like UV, it always was the world of Dark Souls 2 which pulled me in. It wasn't the gameplay. It wasn't the bosses. It was just the vibe and the feel of the world that put it at the top of the trilogy for me. I know that's probably the least favorable opinion on the Dark Souls trilogy, but it was just the vibe of the world, and I think coming into a new Souls game, I think it would have to have that to really pull me in because I've got so many to play. I've got Lords of Fallen, Liza P, now Wuchang. I've got both of the Surges, which are a bit different, but I need to dip back onto the shelf and pull one off, get it installed, and man the fuck up and get through it. So
Oh, absolutely.
that's probably that's next. I think is a Souls like for me.
If you're pulling one off the shelf and you've got
Awesome,
them, I would pull off the Surge too. I think it's an absolutely underrated gem. Like, yeah, would recommend.
awesome. I'll have to check them out. For me this last week, I've had, as I mentioned, quite a bit of gaming time, and I've actually rolled credits on two games, which has been an absolute treat. So first of all, finally, I've been talking about it since probably May on this podcast. I finally finished Expedition 33, and I can comfortably say it is absolutely my game of the year. I've shared so many thoughts on it so far on this podcast and in the Gamer Social Club Discord chats and things. But the characters, the world, the feels that it gives you, the absolute satisfaction of the of reflecting hits and building combos, getting the right build fit for your squads, is. I mean, I might even go for as far as saying it might be my favorite Final Fantasy, even though it's not Final Fantasy. It kind of is in many
Yeah.
ways. Um, but yeah, the story at the end of Act One was like, oh my goodness me, like where do we go from here? This is just some horror show of of sadness, but in many ways it does get a little bit more sad as you go through. And love the characters, love the world building. Um, there are a few issues that I had, and I think one of those was that the game's Picto system, which is part of the selecting your perks. I felt that was poorly explained, and it wasn't. I'm going to hold my hands up and say 10 hours in, I had to watch a YouTube video to make any sense of it. And after that, I was actually a little bit more powerful and able to take things a little bit more head on. And I thought a couple of the character models were a bit off. One of the main characters, Mael, I always felt that her eyes were just looking straight through the screen at me. Like she just looked a bit vacant, a bit kind of Mass Effect Andromeda style. But it's, apart from that, I was honestly, I think it's an absolute genuine masterpiece. And yeah, I can see why Harry gave it a 10 out of 10 on the site. I think we're just a little bit below that for me on a personal level, but the game was sublime. I'm really glad to have finished the main story. I'm still only level kind of 65, and from what I'm hearing, that's quite a low level to finish the game. But there's loads of end game content. There are some bosses that I absolutely have to get leveling so I can actually face. But yeah, absolute masterpiece. And unfortunately for Lushful Photosim, it's now at the top of my tree for 2025. But yeah, I don't think that's a poor second place in coming next to Expedition 33. But yeah, you and Adam need to play it so we can have a bit of a spoiler cast on the
Yeah.
like a one-off bonus show. I know that you're forever playing games for review, but please find the time for this, even if it is only 50 hours you need to find time for.
Yeah, just only 50. If Dano will stop sending me codes, um, then I'll find time to go in and finish it. No, I would love to because I do love a turn-based RPG, so it doesn't have to win me over in that regard. And the couple of hours that I have put into it, I thoroughly enjoyed. So we'll make it work. I'll say I'm going on holiday. I won't actually go on holiday. I'll just sit in the house and I'll play it for a week, and then come back and we can do spoiler cast. Like, yeah.
That sounds bloody ace. That sounds so good. And I think everyone will have a different adventure with the game, like different squad preferences, different builds. Yeah, it's going to be exciting when you and Adam have both played that and we can talk about it. Because I think Harry's spoiled half the game for Adam anyway, so you know he needs to just get on and play with it now.
Yeah. Well, before anyone spoils anything else for him, like, Mm.
I know he's looking forward to Wuchang, so hopefully you don't spoil that one for him. But
No, I'll try not to talk to him about it. Like,
And the other game I've rolled credits on this week is the first kind of meaty game that I've played on my Steam Deck since having it, and that's been really lovely to get through. Not a new game. I think it's actually, I'm going to say 12 years old at a guess, because I think it came out right at the move from 360 to Xbox One, PS3 to PS4 time. And that's Batman Arkham Origins, and it was the only one that I've never played. And honestly, I'd definitely put it second in the four. I absolutely loved it. I think after Asylum, this would be my second favorite Batman Arkham game. I thought some of the boss set piece battles were absolutely fantastic. So Firefly, I wrote a glowing little tweet about that the other day, saying how fantastic of a set piece boss battle it was. Fighting Bane was pretty tough, but pretty cool. Coming up to the Joker at the very end. Obviously, this is a 12-year-old game. I think we're kind of past spoiler territory now. But beating the Joker at the end and the way that it kind of sets up what the first kind of 5 minutes of Batman Arkham Asylum are, I thought was awesome. You see him kind of get wheeled off in the chair, kind of wrapped up like that, and that is exactly how Batman Arkham Asylum starts as you follow him through Arkham. And it's yeah, I honestly really enjoyed it. And I think it was kind of a soft test of the capability of my Steam Deck for me. Again, don't even own a gaming PC, so my Steam Deck is my opportunity to play things on PC. But it runs flawlessly, 60 FPS, looks glorious on the OLED screen. It doesn't look like a 12-year-old game at all. The voice casting, as in any Arkham games, really, really good. Alfred plays a bigger part than he probably does in any of the other Arkham games too. So obviously that's kind of a different dynamic that he has with Bruce, and especially being a prequel, it's kind of representing like a young Bruce Wayne as well. So it has a really good kind of rapport between the two, and it yeah. So really glad to have rolled credits on a much bigger Steam game. Still got a little bit of mopping up to do after finishing it last night, but yeah, it's been a productive week in gaming for me, alongside the couple of things which I can't talk about, but can't wait to talk about in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, been blessed with more gaming time this last month, which has been a treat. But we're just about to decorate the living room, so maybe kiss goodbye to that.
Yeah, potentially. Although I like how we're allowed to spoil 12-year-old games, but I was told off last week for spoiling an 18-year-old game in the form of Mass Effect. So I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a double standard here. Like mm, but no,
That is
I've not
probably
played
the biggest.
sorry, I was just
So
saying
sorry, you go, you go.
I've not played any of the Arkham games apart from Arkham Asylum. Um, I know it's like a gap in my Arkham Asylum is such a good game. Like 10 out of 10 game. Would loved it when I played it back on my 360. I think I own them all. I think I bought like a bundle on my Xbox a couple of years ago because it was on a really good offer. So I will have to jump. There's the thing though, there's just too many games. There's far too many. And at a certain point, there's just going to be ones where this is like a full block. I don't have like there's a blank here, and it's like some of the best games ever made, and I'm like, well, all right, I don't have time. I need to find 50 hours to go and play Expedition 33. Like, and now the rest of the Batman games. I recently got a MetaQuest 3, and I think it came bundled with the new Batman VR game also. So I'll need
Hmm,
to
mhm.
I'll need to take it out of the box because I bought it and it's now still sitting on the floor in its box. So yeah, I'll need to get onto that also.
But you can come back and report to us what it's like to be in VR, play Half-Life Alyx, because that is something I would love to play, but don't own a headset. So hopefully that's something you can get your hands on soon.
I have played it. I played it at a friend's house, and I have to say, I used to think VR was just a load of rubbish, to be honest. And then at a friend's house, I played Half Life Alyx, and it clicked immediately. I was just like, "Oh my god, I get it!" Like, so yeah, I'll be looking forward to finishing Half Life Alyx on the MetaQuest 3. I think absolutely.
Good times, good times. My VR is about 2 hours a year is about all I get. And it's when we go to my wife's aunt's and she has a VR headset and I spend 2 hours playing Beat Saber and I'm like, okay, I'll be back next year. And that's my VR for the year. So yeah. But was very much resisting one of those limited edition Xbox Ones recently, but have refrained, and I think they've now all sold out. It's probably a good thing. I don't need another gaming thing, a device at the moment.
No, no, I didn't, but I got it. But people should make better financial decisions than me. Like, you don't need everything. You don't need a PC and an Xbox and a PlayStation and a Switch and a Steam Deck and a VR headset. It's gotten out of hand, to be perfectly honest. It's just gotten out of hand. Like,
If you could buy a new device and it came with a voucher for more hours in life, then maybe. But I think we all know what it's like being an adult trying to play video games.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's move on then. So I think it's about time we spoke about a little bit of news this week. That's what we're here to speak about. So let's talk about the couple of things that we want to spend more time on, and then we'll maybe look at a few other smaller pieces from the last 7 days as well. But yes, so I think the two big pieces that we're going to focus on are the Pokemon Presents, which was I'm going to say Tuesday this week, and we've also had the full reveal of Battlefield, which has all kind of come around quite quickly this week, following a little tease a few days ago, and then they've had the full trailer drop today, with more to follow in the next week as well. So V, you know a hell of a lot more about Pokemon than I do. I think I've played probably about 6 or 7 over the years. The last one I played was Shield, and I think I actually nearly filled the Pokedex on that. But that was kind of COVID times, and I've not picked up any Pokemon since. So maybe you could bring us up to speed on what people may have missed at the Pokemon Presents and what you're looking forward to from that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love Pokemon, so I have played every generation of the games, and have a full Pokédex in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So if you're ever confused as to who keeps giving the Pokemon Company loads of money, it's me. I keep doing it. But yeah, the Pokemon Presents is always a weird show, because I think as gamers we tend to forget that Pokemon is the biggest selling, most profitable media company in the world. So it's bigger than Disney, it's bigger than, anyone that you might expect to fill that role. Like, and a lot of that is to do with the things that they do outside of the games of it. So obviously we are having Pokemon Legends ZA that's releasing later on this year that people are very excited about, which is the second game in the Legends series, the first one being Arceus, which I can highly recommend. So, the only game that they've released thus far, mainline game, where you can complete the Pokedex without having to trade with anyone. So, you could just run around ancient Sinnoh, or Hisui as it's called. And it's got a completely different catching and battling mechanic, and I think they're doing the same with ZA. But yeah, at the Pokemon Presents this year, we saw quite a lot of other bits of the Pokemon franchise. One of which I thought looked quite fun, and purely because, as a British person, Aardman is very close to my heart, and I'm sure you feel the same. Which is the studio that make Wallace and Gromit, are making a Pokemon show, a stop motion Pokemon show called Pichu and Sirfetch'd, The Misadventures of Sirfetch'd and Pichu, actually. So Sirfetch'd is the Galarian evolution of Farfetch'd from the original Gen 1 games. And he's sort of based on a knight, like, so he's got like a big shield and he's got a really big sword that's a leek. And obviously Galar is the Pokemon equivalent of the UK. So it's just really nice that they've got in like such a British institution to make a Pokemon game around like a very British Pokemon. So yeah, I just think that looks super, super cute, to be honest. Do you love, I assume you love Wallace and Gromit. Like, this is,
Oh, absolutely. Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit, all that kind of claymation stuff. It's just part of our DNA here, isn't it? It's always on TV at Christmas, or yeah, it's just part of us.
yeah, if you're not watching Wallace and Gromit at Christmas, then I fear you're having a terrible Christmas. It just needs to be done. But yeah, they had that. They had the announcement of the Poke Park, which is a full, like, interactive outdoor Pokemon sort of like theme park sort of a thing, which looks quite interesting. That is, I think, it's supposed to open next year. But I don't think I'll be getting over to Japan anytime soon to actually to actually visit it. And then they had a lot of announcement from their sort of smaller sort of spin-off mobile titles. So you got Pokemon Cafe Remix. It's got new stuff coming to it. Pokemon Sleep, which is like a sleep tracking game where if you get a good night's sleep, you can catch better Pokemon. Which I think is an interesting concept. I know I don't get enough sleep. Um, I think you're much better with your sleep schedule. So you probably would have more Pokemon in your Pokédex than I if you if you downloaded Pokemon Sleep on your phone. Um, they've got uh, Pokemon Unite, which is the sort of League of Legends. That's got new characters coming. So we've got Latios and Latias coming to that. And Mega Evolution, coinciding with Pokemon Legends EA, is coming to the physical trading card game. Well, it's coming back to the physical trading card game. So I'm quite excited for that because I do collect the trading cards also. So having some nice, fun, shiny new cards to pull potentially out of packs is exciting. But yeah, the biggest thing that was announced, well, two things. They have Pokemon Champions, which is, I assume, going to be how they run competitive Pokemon battling from now on. So, Pokemon VGC is the competitive format that's generally run in the newest version of the game. So, currently, VGC is run out of Scarlet and Violet. It uses the terastallization mechanic, which is only in those games. And you can use Pokemon that are from different Pokedexes and stuff like that. You can trade them in from Pokemon Home, but it uses a double battling format. So in unofficial um, Pokemon tournaments, a lot of people use single battles, and most of those are run through like a web application called Smogon. Now we're getting really deep into the Pokemon lore here. Um, but a lot of the good thing about Smogon is the fact that you can adjust your Pokemon stats and stuff like that on the fly to develop new, team build and check out what things are going to be like with different moves and um, with different natures and things. Um, Over the years, Pokemon has added things into the main games to make breeding and getting competitively viable Pokemon easier to do, but they've never embraced the whole just like go in and edit the back end stats of your Pokemon in order to do that. But in the trailer that they showed for Pokemon Champions, they had exactly that. You can just go in and edit the IVs and EV spreads and all that of all of your Pokemon, so that you can on the fly just switch stuff up and try it out. But also in it, you can use all of the different mechanics that have ever been introduced. So you can have Megas in the same battle as like a Dynamax Pokemon from Galar, and potentially, terrestrialization at once. So it'll be interesting to see what that does for the competitive scene, and if they, instead of um, using the newest whatever there's going to be the mainline games going forward, running the VGC tournaments in them, if they'll all be run off of Pokemon Champions from now on. I think it's a really good thing though. It makes a competitive Pokemon battling a lot more viable. As someone who's only dipped my toes into it slightly, the amount of time that you need to build a competitive Pokemon is like ridiculous. And we just spoke about not having enough time to even play a game. Never mind, breed like a perfect IV like um, Dracovish or something like that. You can't even breed Dracovish. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, and then the final thing is Pokemon Legends EA, which they showed off a new Mega Evolution, which I think most people were looking forward to. Megas, I think, is probably the favourite gimmick of the series. People love Megas. So when ZA was announced and they put the Mega Evolution on the logo on the screen at the end of the trailer, I went crazy. I know everyone I know who likes Pokemon went crazy. But the biggest thing people wanted was new Megas. So knowing there's like a confirmed new Mega Evolutions in the game, despite the fact Mega Dragonite might look a bit goofy. I'm excited to see what new megas we get. Uh, you know, I would like to see Mega Meganium, because that's one of the new starters, and they have done Chikorita and his line dirty since Gen 2 when he was introduced. So give my boy a Mega so that he can he can finally like fulfill his destiny of being a super cool little dinosaur guy. Like, but yeah, that's a sort of very whistle stop overview. But yeah, I don't. Will you be picking up any of the new Pokemon games that have come out? Have you seen anything about ZA?
Yeah, I've seen bits, and I remember we had a very brief chat about it around the kind of time it was announced for Switch 2 edition. And I think I didn't play Arceus, didn't play. I've not played anything in kind of the non-mainline series, so I know that Arceus had a really big following, and I think it was probably, from what I'm aware, the most well regarded of the recent Pokemon games. So having seen a comparison of what it looks like between a Switch 1 and a Switch 2, I think I would have to wait till I get a Switch 2 to play it because it looked a night and day difference. But yeah, I've kind of got a bit of a bug for a Pokemon game now, and I'm really enjoying handheld gaming at the moment. So, fully thinking about getting a Switch 2 when kind of before Christmas at least is the plan. And it's out in October. Is that, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, ZA comes out in October. Yep. So I'll be getting it. Absolutely.
But you can maybe siphon me some cheap Pokemon to get me started if you can still trade like you used to be able to.
Yeah, that's the one thing um you can't direct trade in Arceus, so I don't know if ZA will be the same. But I can trade you some Pokemon to Pokemon Home, and then you can move them from home into ZA. So you'll be fine. I'll give you something fun. Like, I've got many a shiny Bagon that you could evolve into a lovely shiny Salamence, so you can have a shiny Mega Salamence, like, eh, which would be fun. Like,
I'm all for that. What you said about the Pokemon Sleep game, well, Pokemon Sleep, not that game, but something companion. It sounds like they've gone full circle from having Pokemon Go, which gets you off your ass, to get having Pokemon Sleep to get you on your ass. So that's a really
yeah,
a full circle of experience of Pokemon, isn't it?
yeah. Get up in the morning, go outside, open Pokemon Go, go and do all your stuff, come home, close Pokemon Go, go to sleep. Well, open Pokemon, sleep, go to sleep. Like, there's Pokemon everywhere. Yeah.
Eat, sleep, catch, repeat. Bloody hell! I think that's God, they're really trying to do the life of it, aren't they?
Oh,
Bloody hell!
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I know that you mentioned you're a collector of the cards, and I mean this is totally kind of vague knowledge of modern Pokemon, but some of those are worth insane money, aren't they? Absolutely crackers kind of money. And I've heard that people just buy the packs just to sit on them. I'm hoping that one day somebody's gonna pay 10 times what they bought them for, if not more.
Yeah, we covered this on this week's Girl Pods as I was out at the weekend with my little nephew who's only 4. And he started to get into Pokemon. And we went to a shop to see if we could buy him one packet of Pokemon cards just so he could open them. And uh, he doesn't really even care if he gets anything good. He just likes opening the cards and looking at the Pokemon. But everywhere that we went to was sold out. So I buy my Pokemon cards online, but not in crazy volumes, and I do open them all. I've got no sealed product in my home. You can see there's like boxes here, but they are open. Um, and then if I find something cool that I know my little nephew would like, his favorite Pokemon is Charizard, or one of the guys I go to the pub with, Bob, his son collects Eevee and his Evolutions. I will put that card in a little sleeve and I'll take it and give it to them because I've loved Pokemon since I was a child, and I want people to still love it when they're children. But yeah, there's a huge issue with scalping in the hobby at the moment, and it is, you're right. People buy like 10s, 20 big boxes of sealed product and then keep them in their homes, hoping that one day someone will spend like a couple of grand on a sealed box of Pokemon. Not really understanding, I think, if you remove the nostalgia for the future market, then nobody's going to care about them. If kids can't buy Pokemon cards now, then in 20 years' time, when you're trying to offload that that product, they're not going to care. Like, so, you need to leave a little bit for the kids to actually get into the cards and see them and want them. Otherwise, when they're in their 30s and have got money, no one's buying a Prismatic Evolutions booster box for you from like for 7, 8 grand because they don't care about the cards anymore. Like, you know, so, but
Yeah, I've seen quite a few videos of some of the YouTuber lunatics spending like 5 grand on boxes just doing a mass opening. But anyway, we're going down a right rabbit hole here, aren't we, of Pokemon cards?
yeah,
So maybe we can move on. So the next thing we wanted to talk about this week, and I think it's probably the one of the big pieces of news, is that Battlefield finally got a full reveal and returns as Battlefield 6. And we don't yet have a release date for the game. There's lots of speculation that we'll see that relatively imminently. And the trajectory of the games are they're always kind of holiday games. I think the only one that hasn't been, if I remember this correctly, was Battlefield Hardline, and that was the Cops and Robbers spin-off one. And I'm sure that came out the spring of the year that it did, kind of early PS4, Xbox One gen, and wasn't really the greatest one either. So maybe they'll look back for holiday options. But I'm a big Battlefield gamer. I didn't play 2042, to be honest. All of the negativity around the launch and the issues with it just completely turned me off. And at the time, I was kind of knee deep in Warzone, which I admittedly still am. So I didn't really have space for a Battlefield in my life. But three, and then particularly four, and Battlefield One, the World War II game, I was absolutely huge on. So really, kind of hoping they can bring this back. And there's a lot of hype amongst the FPS community that I'm very much part of around Battlefield 6. So in terms of the game, it looks like we're getting a big campaign. Which is going to pit some NATO forces against a Pax Armata, which is in many ways a kind of the typical milsim game trope now of putting Russia as a different name or a kind of military faction. Just don't call it Russia, which in many ways that's what it is. Is my understanding. So that looks like we're going to get a big war in America, and in the trailer we see in some of I think it's Brooklyn Bridge, one of the New York bridges getting blown up. We're getting talking to and a bit of a rallying call from the president of the states. But it all looks that kind of big Battlefield blockbuster trailer, which they used to absolutely deliver on back, a generation ago. And it looks like they've got that kind of that feel back of that kind of modern milsim. But yeah, really feeling it, really feeling it. It kind of takes me back to Battlefield 4, which was what they had. What did they call it at the time? It was a bit of a cringy name. Levolution, and that was the way that you destroyed objects on the map and levoluted the map. And does it evolute? Oh god, it's awful word. It's one of those kind of gamer PR things you hear, and you're like, "Ooh." But
yeah, a gamer didn't
yeah,
come up
blown
with
up.
this. Someone in a corporal room somewhere in the back end came up with this name. Like,
That's the one, bro. That's the one. Oh god. We're bringing down skyscrapers with loads of people fighting on top of, getting in planes, flying around, choppers, which are a pain in the ass to fly, but really rewarding when you learn to nail it. Tanks, Battlefield's just got the lot. It's just that sandbox of absolute madness. And I think back to kind of the era where Battlefield 3 and 4 were kind of at their peak. And that was kind of like early to mid kind of social media times. So, you'd see like some amazing clips get shared, but they were, very few and far between. But I just, can't wait now to see the YouTube and the TikTok montages of those Battlefield moments of people, I don't know, sitting on top of a plane while their mate jumps out the cockpit and they do a 360 no scope on a tank driver. I mean, to me, that's just gaming. I'm a big FPS player, and I'm just like, oh, laugh watching that up all day long, and then probably spend about 3 hours dying trying to reenact at least one clip. Um, but yeah, but Battlefield's looking really hot from the reveal trailer today. There is going to be the multiplayer trailer coming. I think it's they said the 31st, so just about a week's time. there is some ongoing, as with all Battlefield games, there's normally a beta. So I think if the game's going to launch this fall, which would be my expectation really, we'll see a beta pretty soon. And if they've got to keep the hype train going for, from the end of July to a kind of October-ish release, they've got to get the beta out soon and give opportunity for the devs to fix that. Because ultimately, DICE, who make Battlefield, they haven't really listened to the community recently. They've dropped ball on a lot of community requests with 2042, and I think that's what maybe not want to play it. But when they listen and work with the community, they really can deliver a hell of a game. But it's just really kind of taking me back to the 360 era when you've got a Battlefield game going up against a Call of Duty game for a Christmas window. And you know what? The shooter space is rammed. There's so much going on there. And I say all the time, almost every week, how much of a big COD gamer I am. But the space in my heart for Battlefield, there's the space for it on my hard drive, the space for it for me and the boys. So I'm really hoping it comes and delivers. And in the trailer today, they had the iconic kind of Battlefield tune of like dum 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 dum. I'm like, oh yes, yes, here we go, here we fucking go. um, so that got me today, just that little beat, undertone tune. So, hey, what about you, V? I don't think you play that many shooters, but what about Battlefield? Have you played many over the years?
I have never played the Battlefield game. But again, I'm not a massive, as you say, I'm not a massive shooter person. I've played a few Call of Duties, um, but I'm more of a Halo girly myself in terms of like shooters over the years. But I do think that yeah, as you say, the shooter space is like super saturated at the moment, especially for multiplayer shooters. But we keep seeing so many of them just absolutely like eat it. They're like coming out, not listening to what fans want, focusing too much on maybe trying to get a bit of that Fortnite pie or the Warzone pie. And then like we saw it just this week with Splitgate 2, like pulling the game back into beta because the player numbers had dropped all the way off. So I've played the most recent COD, not a lot of it actually. I downloaded it because I wanted to play zombies with my friends, and then they made me play Warzone, and I realised that my reflexes are dog shit. Um, but I definitely think there's so much space, even though the market's super saturated. There's so much space for something that's actually a COD competitor. There's none of the games that I think have came out really recently um, and the shooter space are really they're not standing up to CODs. They're just there for COD just juggernauts its way through the industry as it does every single year. Um, so I think it'll be really interesting to see a new Battlefield and if they handle it well, how, as you say, that old like Battlefield COD fight coming back onto the thing. So the trailer did look super fun. I almost like completely forgot that such a staple of Battlefield, as you say, the Levolution thing, is just how much everything can explode. Like which you don't get in COD. You get your big sort of set pieces and stuff, but that's not what it's about. So I think that looks super fun. So I'd definitely be up for a gamer social club Battlefield night in the future to maybe we can convince like over the next few years of doing the website and doing all these different co-op games and stuff together, we can finally convince me that shooters are the way to go. We can get me onto the shooter train in earnest, just dropping into Warzone with the boys. Like, but yeah, it does look super fun. I hope they do it well. As you say, like Dice haven't necessarily been gaming executives in general, but there is a bit of a um there has been some tone deaf comments even around the new Battlefield about wanting it to hit 100 million players within a certain amount of time and things. So it'll be good to see whether or not they actually make sure that the expectations for it are actually realistic, and then start listening to the feedback that people have from the beta and stuff and make it a really good game, because it'd be good to see a COD competitor that's actually doing something different, but people are having fun with. So I'm glad you're excited about it as a resident shooting expert. Like,
maybe expert, by no means pro. Very different with the shoes. But I'm really glad as well that it's getting a campaign because the that was another reason I didn't pick up the last Battlefield. I mean, although it's kind of only 5 of the 200 hours you play of the game, I love a shooter campaign, and the only other Call of Duty I've never really played was Call of Duty Black Ops 4 because that lacked a campaign. And I just, to me, if it's this essential thing, it's kind of got to be in there. It's probably going to be what 5 6 hours long, at a casual playthrough. But to me, it's just all those set pieces and just that kind of fun. And in many ways, it's kind of the kind of the proving grounds for the multiplayer because you learn the mechanics, you learn how the vehicles work, but in kind of like a big set piece format. And yeah, like bring it on. But yeah, just as a shooter compared to Call of Duty, it's COD can be a bit sweaty. We like to call it in the shooter community. You could be a bit people gonna be trying a bit too hard. A lot of people sliding around corners, making use of the omni movement that we have now. But kind of Battlefield is just a bit more accessible. If you want to be the guy just fucking around on a skyscraper, taking pop shots, you can be that guy. Or if you want to be the guy in your squad who's just I don't know, just a bit of a lunatic and wants to strap 3C4 to a quad bike and see how many tanks he can detonate, that's you. Yeah, you crack on. There's no right or wrong way to play. We Call of Duty, there is a bit of that.
I want to be the
So
3C
I'm
on the quad bike guy. Can I be that guy? That sounds great.
I mean, also the thing is when you just wheelie, like, well, we call it wheelie here in the UK. That might not mean anything to our foreign audience, but wheelie, your quad bike into the back of a tank while you've jumped off the back, and it's like, bye bye. It's just so bloody satisfying. Love it, absolutely love it. But yes, really excited for that. I think the one kind of uphill battle in my face is price points. Um, Obviously, cards in Game Pass now on PC and console. So Battlefield typically is a full premium price game. And in that space, you've got Rainbow Six, you've got Card on Game Pass. Like Siege is free to play. You've got the finals free to play. PUBG free to play. Obviously, Battlefield is kind of its own thing, kind of the sandbox shooter. But I think if it's full price, kind of $80 or kind of £70 here in the UK, probably at a stretch I'd pay it, but I think it might hurt the player base and player numbers. So I guess we'll probably have some indication on that pretty soon. But yeah, really optimistic, but I can quite easily be burned by an EA game. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, as you say, price is super important with things like Game Pass, but also because so many games are free to play. But I also think that's one of the reasons why in shooters specifically campaign modes are really important because for a little while there, they loads of them were stripping them out, but still asking you for the money for a full price game. And it's like, okay, I'm not giving you money for a full price game because you're not giving me a full game. Like, it's just like this is wild that you're saying that this still costs would have been £60 and stuff at the time for like Black Ops 4, but you're not giving me anything like that I'm paying for. The servers won't shut down in probably like 3 years and I can't play it anymore. Like, mm,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's kind of that expectation of we talk so often on the podcast about price and expectations around kind of what you get for that, and I think the campaign has to be part of it. The other thing in there is the battle royale mode that's been kind of is expected for Battlefield 6. Obviously, that's got to stack up against COD Warzone is kind of the direct competitor, but then there is PUBG, there is Apex, there are lots of established shooters, not to mention Fortnite in the battle royale space. So Battlefield 5 had a BR mode, but that was kind of part of the premium product. And it died, it fell off a cliff because everyone expects to play BR free to play. So I think if they lock that mode away behind a premium purchase, that could set it up for a bit of disaster. But yeah, I'm optimistic, and I guess we will see what happens in a few months. But yeah, we definitely need to try and get up some squad game time session if we all pick it up here. I think that'd be awesome.
yep, absolutely. More news gaming time. That's what we need. More news podcast gaming time. once these guys get back from bloody holiday, like sunning themselves, like.
And then they write some goddamn news. God. Anyway, but I won't start there.
uh,
Hey ho. Well, I'm sure they'll be listening. Anyway, I think the only other one thing we wanted to quickly touch on this week, much bit of a smaller item, is around the success that Forza Horizon 5 has had on PlayStation 5. And a report from Alinea Analytics, I think I'm saying that correctly. This week, some data has released that Forza Horizon 5, which came out on PlayStation 3.5 years after the Xbox One and Series X and S launch, has sold 3 million copies and is currently the biggest selling game on PS5 of the year, uh, beating out second place Monster Hunter Wilds and then the likes of Assassin's Creed Shadows, Expedition 33, and of course Death Stranding 2. But of course, that's been out a lot less time, so I'm sure we'll catch up some of that ground, particularly as it's been such a critical darling. But yeah, I mean, I think kind of where people were a bit skeptical about the Xbox kind of diversification into new markets and kind of how that will play out. And there's always a lot of hate on Twitter for Xbox games from the PlayStation community, but the proof's in the pudding. They're buying it. You know, like this is an absolute banger of a game, the one of the best races you could ever play, and people are lapping it up. So, yeah, big successes for Xbox. And yeah, V, what do you think about Xbox's move to PlayStation? Where do you see it going from here?
Yeah, I think, well, one, just want to say that you're absolutely right. Forza Horizon 5 is an absolute fantastic game. So I was surprised that it had sold that much on PlayStation, actually, when we posted the news article. But I'm looking back on it, I don't know why I'm surprised because it's such a good game. I played it on Game Pass when it came out and absolutely loved it. Um, and I think, just because it's a racing game, but it's not Gran Turismo, it's not motorsport. You're not getting into the nitty gritty like sim elements of stuff. You're just driving about Mexico, having a fantastic time. Yeah, I'm not surprised that the guys over on PlayStation are also loving it. Um, but yeah, I think it does sort of prove that despite a lot of hate from the Twitter community and things like that, which again I have mentioned this before in the podcast, but we're not going to go too deeply into it. I don't actually think a lot of these people play a lot of games, sometimes if any. Because they seem to spend far too much time on Twitter, that they would ever have any time to play anything, to be honest. Eh, but yeah, there's a lot of hate for that in terms of the strategy of Xbox putting its games elsewhere, or people who are ostensibly PS5 gamers um, saying that all Xbox games are bad and no one's going to buy them, to the actual reality of it. There's like, if you release a good game on a different platform, then it's going to do well. Um, and I think obviously the Microsoft execs will be pretty happy with those numbers. Um, and I mean, I can only imagine that potentially other games companies are looking at it and saying like, oh, well, actually, maybe diversification of our product could be a good idea going forward. So a lot of games only launch on sort of PC and PlayStation. Just seeing what the numbers can look like if you launch across more brands at once, might we might see a little bit of reduction in the amount of exclusives that we're seeing, especially third party exclusives across certain consoles. Purely just because game cost is so high, and you can see from the figures that if they are made available to other people, that other people will definitely buy them. So I think Xbox has made the right decision to put these games on PlayStation. For me, I mean, I have all platforms because I'm a lunatic and won't stop buying games, consoles, and also games. Um, why not allow everybody to play the game that you've made? Like, gaming is such a communal thing. We all sit in the Gamer Social Club Discord, which you can join. There will be links. Talking about what we're playing, having a great time, trying to organize co-op sessions and stuff like that. the idea that you would want people to not be able to play your favorite game is wild to me. So yeah, I think it's just such a good news story in a year of pretty shit news stories about games and studios and things like that. So to see a fantastic game doing really well and potentially opening the door for uh, more games to do well across multiple platforms so everyone can enjoy them, I think is really good. So hopefully we will see a little bit less exclusives here and there going forward. Um, because if it's a great game, why not want people to play it? Like,
I'm absolutely with you on that, and I think as an Xbox main, I think when the first games that came to PlayStation, like your Pentiments and your Hi-Fi Rush, those smaller titles, I was like, okay, kind of, let them have that, and then, we're still going to keep the Forzas, we're going to keep the Avowed and those biggies, but as time's gone on, I genuinely just stopped giving a crap, and I think I've become exactly like you that more people should be able to play these games that people spend their whole lives creating. And as a big shooter fan, having more people in a server, more people in a space, that means a better experience for me. It means better lobbies. It means kind of better matchmaking times. There are just so many advantages for a gamer. And ultimately, if my mate buys something on a PlayStation, then we can just play the same game. Like I'm going to play it in Game Pass. I'm not going to pay for it. But if he wants to spend 40 quid on Gears that he played 20 years ago when he used to be on 360, mint, let's hook up. Let's play together again, like good old times. And I'm all for kind of breaking down the boundaries of this. And yeah, I feel exactly the same as you. And Helldivers is coming to Xbox now, so whether or not that's the initial um, the initial step for Sony to get all their games to PlayStation, who knows? There's been lots of Twitter fanboys mocking up Star Wars Xbox box art since Helldivers, but I think they might be getting ahead of themselves for now. But who knows? Who knows? And let's be honest, companies take notice of profit, and if Forza is making this much money on another platform, then Sony are obviously aware, Xbox are obviously aware, and I'm sure Nintendo to a level are watching, but I do feel that they'll probably forever stick to their guns. I think they're their own little entity, and that's doing absolute gangbusters for them. So why would they care? But yeah, I think for PC, Xbox, PlayStation, I think the walls are starting to crumble on exclusivity, and I think in many ways it can only be a good thing. So yeah, I'm sorry guys on Twitter. You'll have to go and complain somewhere else. But anyway, here we are.
yeah, they could try uh playing a game. Controversial opinion, but instead of complaining on Twitter,
Hmm.
they could try just opening a game and playing it on their preferred platform. I don't know.
If they own one, if they own one, you never
Yeah.
know if they actually do.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Like they could just be doing it all from their phone. They don't even have like a really low spec PC that you could play some really amazing little lower spec games on Steam on. Like no, so they could just be tweeting away from their phone because they love Sony so much or Microsoft so much um, when they don't actually own anything. But would recommend instead of getting angry about games on the internet, just playing some because my backlog is 293 games long and it's never going to get any shorter because that's how many amazing games that I have bought over the years. So, like no time to complain, only time to game.
Or just buy more. Or just buy more. I know what you do.
You've seen the Steam sale, you've seen it. I don't like you can't
It's
even
crap.
judge anymore. Like,
Oh, Steam sales over. CD keys have got a sale on though. Oh shit, there's three things in my basket.
oh no.
Um, yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm realizing that about the world of PC gaming. But yeah. Anyway, what's another game in the backlog?
Yeah, what are you looking
Well, V
forward
is
to? Mm.
yeah, what we're looking forward to. So I think that's going to be our last segment of a busy week. For me, I'm looking forward to seeing the Battlefield multiplayer reveal next week. Really excited for that. I'm also looking forward to just as I mentioned earlier, wrapping up Expedition 33, picking a Souls-like and getting stuck in. And I'm also looking forward to having a little dabble in Deadly Premonition, which I picked up for about £1.20 on Steam the other day. And I know it's like a really old school game, but I got the 1-2 combo for about, yeah, £3. So fuck it. I love Twin Peaks. I know it's very inspired by Twin Peaks. So yeah, I thought I'm going to give that a little dabble over the weekend whilst I finish up things that I can't talk about, as I said earlier. But yeah, that's going to be my weekend of gaming ahead of me. What about you, V? What you got ahead for you?
Yeah, so as mentioned, I do have a absolutely ridiculous gaming backlog. I keep them all on a spreadsheet. But I have convinced so many more people that I know to buy Peak because I
Yeah,
want to just play Peak with people. So I'm looking forward to getting together with guys from the site or my friends like Finley and Croc to play some Peak at some point over the coming week because we really need to play it because it's such a good little game. Um, I'm also looking forward to getting my MetaQuest set up so I can dive into a little bit of the world of VR. But the thing that I am most looking forward to, I'm going over to a friend's house tomorrow, and I'll be spending some time in my hometown on Saturday to go and visit my grandmother. So that involves quite a bit of train journey traveling. So I have procured myself a copy of the new Donkey Kong Bonanza. So I played a little
hey,
bit in the office yesterday lunchtime, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle to put the switch down when it was lunchtime was over, and I had to go into a call. Luckily, my manager walked past my desk at like 1 minute to one when lunch was ending. It was just like, "Oh, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's a game. But yeah, meeting. What room are we in? Oh, yeah. Like, but so I'm looking forward to really get my teeth into that because it's fabulous. Like I've played very little of it, but it's just such fun. Like Nintendo really know how to make just a 3D platformer like character action game. Well, not character action game, but like character based game that's just so charming and like ridiculously so. Like all of Donkey Kong's like facial expressions and like the fact you just punch everything. You just can destroy half of the level. So you're just like I don't even think I got past like the title screen because I was just like, oh, that wall's punchable. Just punch into the wall and then spend like 10 minutes going about it, search for gold and little tokens and crystal bananas. So I'm excited to play more of that on the Switch, which I never dock. So I will play it as I wander around places and get the train. So that's what I'm looking forward to this week. Absolutely.
good times, good time. I'm really looking forward to getting a Switch 2 for Bonanza. I adored Odyssey. I think I got all but 3 moons, and one of them was the bullshit skipping rope one, which we don't talk about. But yeah, it's got that DNA and it looks absolutely amazing. The reviews have been like incredible. So yeah, I'm sure you're gonna have a great time playing that this weekend.
Yeah, I've got to say when you pick up one of the bananas, like I love Super Mario Odyssey, but I laugh every time you pick up one of the bananas in Donkey Kong Bonanza because it's just got a little bit. It's like ooh banana, and it's just so funny. I don't know why. I'm just like whoever did the little sound design on that particular bit, they were like, yeah, let's make this satisfying, but also go along with the fact that this is essentially like almost like a bit of a comedy game. It's just really, really good fun. So, yeah, I'm very excited.
Good times, good times. It looks wonderful. So yeah, hope you enjoy it. Well, everyone, I think that probably brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you ever so much for listening this week. Just before you go, please feel free to leave a like, or if you didn't enjoy the podcast, leave a dislike and a comment on how we could make it better. We're always looking to listen to our community, but if you do want to become a part of that, please do come and join the Gamer Social Club Discord. We have community game nights. We have lots of different things going on over here. You can chat with us if you really want to, and you can always game with us as well. We're a really friendly bunch, and we just love talking about games, writing about games, blogging about games, all for our lovely Gamer Social Club community. And our website's doing really well, and we're really proud of what what we're doing here in a no rumor nonsense way. Um, if you do want to follow us on social media, you can find us on X/Twitter. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and I believe Threads as well. I'm trying to recite Harry off the top of my head, but yeah, I won't dethrone him forever. He'll be back for next week's show. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. We really love this podcast, and we can't wait to be back here talking about games with you all next week. So have a great weekend, or have a great week if you listen to this later. We'll be back same time next week. Have a lovely weekend, all.
Bye, guys.